Hello, greetings, and welcome to this first edition of Buddy Talk. My name is Sandeep, and I'm your thoughtful buddy hosting these talks. Well, if you're wondering what Thoughtful Buddy is, that's also the name of my YouTube channel that I've started recently. As part of this series, I plan to call upon some of my buddies to share their experiences and knowledge across various topics related to product management, leadership, agile development, or any specific industry best practices. The key idea is to learn from each other and have fun together. Who knows, the next speaker could be you. For each of these sessions, of course, we will have one topic being presented, followed by a little bit of discussions, questions, and answers. I will have these sessions recorded and published for public access. Details will be updated on the event link in the LinkedIn. I'm trying to keep each session for either a 30-minute session or a maximum of 1 hour session. But we will see if there is a need for increasing time, then we will have to split it up. Coming to this session today, when you're bold to be the first one to do something, some people will think you're either crazy, but it's also more insane to be very timid as well. But my buddy speaker for this session is neither crazy nor timid. I would call him inquisitive. I'm pleased to introduce Sumanas Bhat. Sumanas, if you're on call, please just wave yourself.
Hey, hi, Sandeep.
Thank you. So let me just give a brief introduction about Sumanas and the topic today. Sumanas has about 14 years of experience building IT products, and a majority of his journey has been associated with the telecom industry. Keeping that aside, I can vouch for this. He has been a financial advisor for many over the last 6 years, and I've seen him doing this with a lot of passion. Quite recently, of course, he has made a transition to a product team at Scriptbox, which is a wealth management company, coincidentally. With these experiences and insights, in today's session, Suminas will be talking about how to launch an awesome fintech product. Talking about fintech products, I'm just curious to know, and eagerly looking forward for today's session, why there has been a rapid increase in the number of fintech companies over the last few years. How do they function when it comes to building technology-based products? Are they any different from any other industry? What factors or strategies should somebody like a product manager in these fintech company should consider? Well, before we begin, let me remind you that this session is being recorded, so I would appreciate if you could keep yourself muted while not speaking. Should you have any questions, please feel free to post them as comments on the LinkedIn event so that we could continue the discussion after this session as well. I will share the link on the chat section on the Zoom. I will be the moderator, and so I will pick up the questions from there. I appreciate your cooperation for this session and in future as well. Once again, welcome all of you to this session. It's now time for me to call upon Sumanas. Sumanas, if you can just say hi, and well, I'll probably promote you to be the host and share the presentation.
Hey, Sandeep. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Let me start by sharing my screen. So the topic that I'm going to talk to you about is something related to fintech product that's very close to my heart. As Sandeep introduced me earlier, I've been in the telecom industry for a long time. But my passion has always been something to do with fintech industry. Since last 6 to 7 years, passionately, I've been advising people on their personal finances. So a mixture of technology, finance, product management, and the trend that was setting in, I eventually made a jump to a fintech company. That's currently I'm a senior product manager at Scriptbox, and I would like to share some of the thoughts in this webinar on my understanding on how fintech products should be built, and being a product manager, what are some of the key points that you'll have to keep in mind. So with that, let me start over. So yeah. So before we delve into developing a fintech product, I would like to share some of the exciting evolution of Indian fintech space. It all started with the demonetization event that happened in 2017. We all knew the pains that it went through, but as people say, in the pain there was some company that made tremendous gains. We all know how Paytm started with something called as a wallet, right? That happened in 2017. Then in 2018, UPI was a big bang boom. That's Unified Payment Interface launched by NPCI that revolutionized the way money is transferred securely, right? In matter of a few seconds. 2019, it was tech revolution. You started a lot of companies started popping up in Indian space where they were like trading apps, they were like investment apps, and it kind of boomed in the period of 2019. Then it was time of 2020 where COVID struck. A lot of emergence of neo banking, insurance surge due to health importance. So these were like evolution that kind of peaked during this COVID pandemic time. And 2021, we all know how crypto craze, not just in India but all over the world, the blockchain-based investment. It actually drove RBI and other central bank crazy because they could not control the amount of companies that were evolving. So these were the trends that I felt kind of peaked until 2021. So what are the top five factors to consider? Having discussed all of this, we all know in the wealth space, we all know in the fintech space, like you could call in a broader perspective, it could be either a wealth management company, it could be either a credit lending company, it could be a loan based companies. There are a lot of space that are there. So for anybody in this particular in this game of events, so what are the top five factors to consider to build an awesome product launch, right? So in the next five steps, I would like to take you what are the things that are required? Are products launches in this fintech company as simple and domain agnostic, or are there a few peculiar consideration that these companies need to dwell upon? Number one is understanding the trend. Trends change. It could be BPNL today, that's buy now pay later kind of thing, or something else tomorrow. So be aware of what competitors are trying to do. Do not try to imitate or try to bring in a feature just customers don't need. So always be aware of that. Conduct plenty user interviews, user research. These are the key to get the pulse of the customers. And don't be hesitate in pulling down products which aren't flavor of the season. Just to give an anecdote, in our company, a couple of months back, they ran this thing, people came in and they said, which are the products that currently are not in use because they are not in trend and which are some of the things people are not able to resonate as on today. So they made a list of items and these were abruptly stopped, though they were a success maybe a couple of years back, 3 years back, they had to abruptly stop because it doesn't make sense as on today. The trends have changed. And some of the ways, as you can see, some of the reports based on the user researchers or on the primary or the secondary data, you get to know what people are looking for. This is some of the examples on a wealth management space. Something similar that were tracked by some other companies like Scriptbox, where they went ahead and spoke to people. They went to their homes, they went to their offices, they went to understanding what people want, what are they looking for. So this way they'll get to know what the trend is in the market and what their needs are. So once you do all of this, like of course you build the persona to understand what they say, what they feel, what they think, and what they do, based upon which you list out few of the pain points and then prioritize them and then probably work out. So this is a common piece of work that people do. So the second point that you need to do is like keep an eye on the regulatory aspect. When you're in a fintech domain, it's extremely important that you know what regulator is thinking about, right? Compliance is an important factor to be considered. It can keep changing with short notice, and this can be an important must-do change inevitably. Meaning, if you have some other strategic, product launches and all of that, that everything will have to be halted because this will become the number one priority. And you'll never know when this regulatory thing will come into the picture, and then you'll have a very short time for you to implement that. So there's a fine line between exploring a gray area and upholding regulatory compliance as well. Some of the things are not explicitly told. For example, in our wealth management space, it is never told that you cannot market, using some of the celebrities. Like, have you seen maybe anyone like a cricketer coming and endorsing any of the wealth management company? Currently, no. But there's something called as mutual fund sahi hai that is by the SEBI itself, so they market it. So like, have they given a clear instruction that we are not supposed to do it? No, those are all the gray areas. So as a product manager, if you venture into something like that, you could land in a soup later on. And some of the consequences are overstepping high, meaning you can be penalized. So it's extremely important that you ensure legal team is always in the loop before building any new product or enhancing any of the existing ones. Domain expert product managers matters a lot. So this is like my personal opinion, like having been with this company, like having a product manager who is sound with numbers is a must, since it involves a lot of analytical skills driven tasks. So to empathize with customer pain, having domain knowledge is a must. If you can act like a financial planner, productizing a feature becomes extremely easy. And at its core, fintech is all about dealing with formulas and reconciling numbers. So if you're having some sort of a domain knowledge, it's always a plus. So if you're at the higher level, if you want to recruit people, I would always prefer someone with coming up with a domain than not having anything. And like when you talk about fintech space as such, here what you're doing is you're dealing with customers' money and their hard-earned money and with sensitive financial information. So establishing trust with your customer is the number one priority thing. So whatever your websites, the messaging pillars are, make sure that it's structured correctly, that communicates the content which are transparent and informative. And to establish credibility from the outset, the website should communicate sense of robustness, rigor, and integrity in both product and company. So when any of your company employees are talking to customers, we'll have to ensure that the integrity is maintained and what you're communicating is exactly what you're telling. There should not be any star. Like just to quote an example, like say for example, there's something called as a BPN, right? Buy now, pay later, or there could be credit lending space. On the website, you say something and customers keep going through the flow. At the end of the journey, you bring in some hidden costs. That should not be the case. If you are someone who is taking commission, it should be upfront written on this thing. Because if trust is broken, not only the customer will not come back, they'll go and rant about it, and you will never be able to win back. So trust is built over a period of time. Once it is built, it is very easy to persuade and cross-sell products. So this is something that I'm seeing even in this company which I'm at. If there are certain customers, even if you do something wrong with the website, there is some the website is down or there are some transactions not happening, they'll be with you because you would have communicated them clearly, telling that okay, there's something that wrong went down, like we are sorry about it. But because of trust that is built over the period of time, they know how robust your applications are. At times they understand when things go wrong, they have to be patient. So building trust is extremely important in this aspect. And the last but not the least, the one important factor here is the security. So cybercrime is on the rise, and fintech products who deal with customers' money along with institution money. So you'll have to be extra vigilant here because there's a chain of events, right? You have customer on one side, there's a platform, their customer are trading or are managing your thing. Then there's a bank, then there is regulatory, could be some sort of um, other government related services that you're dealing with. So there are a lot of chain of events that happens, and intruder can come in any point of time. For customers, it wouldn't matter. So all they say is like, if I'm putting my money into your application, for me it has to be it has to be extra secure. So for that, audits has to be performed quite often. Strict encryption mechanism has to be there, and contingency plan in case something crisis unfolds. Say we have seen some of the crypto companies where they have been hijacked and ransom has been asked, or it could be a lending space or a wealth management company app where hackers come into the play, they steal the company's clients information. Once there is a breach and system outages, it kind of blemishes on a company's permanent record, and customers might not be too forgiving for you. So trust is breached, you cannot recover. So it's extremely important that you focus on your security stuff and make sure your tech related thing are extremely strong on that. So with this, I would like to conclude the presentation, and be open for any questions from your side.
Wow, that was a quick thing in a jiffy as such. But just as a reminder, post your questions, comments, and feedback on the LinkedIn event that I have shared on the chat session as well here. Well, Suminas, I think it was interesting to see how you have laid out the five factors, understanding the trends, keeping an eye on the regulatory landscape, domain expertise, trust with customers, and most importantly, the security structure as well. I think I would probably, being a moderator, gives me an advantage of being the first person to ask the question as well. So,
Sure.
what are some of the information that you would probably recommend, considering, I mean, to be able to identify or define your customer segment or customer persona, especially for the
You mean
fintech
how?
products?
Yeah. So I'll maybe like talk in perspective of what I am doing at Scriptbox. So here it all depends on the trend, as I spoke earlier. So we had one customer segment in our mind, the young generation people, which we thought we could focus on. But as more and more data we got from them, as more and more we studied, we figured that uh, this does not go well with the business model that we are having, or where we would like to be placed in next 3 to 5 years, right? There's a trend that from the distribution model, the company is getting into the advisory model. So it makes sense for us to get into more to do with 35 to 50-year-old persona. So the change might not happen drastically, but then with a lot of data points that comes in when you talk, when you realize, when you get the financial impactings as well. So maybe that is where you distinguish, or you segregate, and then you say maybe this persona makes more sense for the company with the changing trends.
Okay, that's a great one. So you also talked about the domain experience being important as such. Could you elaborate on your own thoughts and experiences that you had to undergo to be able to, as a product manager, to be able to get into a role of product management at at Scriptbox?
Yeah, sure. So when I joined, like I was given a task on working on a new, uh, uh, I would say a concept which had required, I mean, which actually wanted a lot of expertise on understanding, because like company wanted to dig deep dive into that and understand something to do with the broader perspective of financial freedom, what that means for the customers. So I felt I had that leverage because I was coming from this background. I could understand this more. I could relate to it more. And when I had conducted user interviews, the kind of the insights that you draw, where you will be able to derive it more easily in case if you are having some domain expertise. And also, when you're designing any of the applications, it will require a lot of formulas to be taken, a lot of numbers that have to be juggled around. So unless until you're coming with that expertise with your hand, it will become little difficult for you. It's not that it's a must to have, it's a good feature to have, that kind of a thing. So coming from a domain, I feel you'll have a better advantage than others.
Okay, all right. Um, I know, like, just as a reminder, people, I mean, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, I could probably, just as a one-time thing, if you want to uh, use some of the Zoom reactions to raise your hand and come out and ask questions, please feel free, let me know. Or you can also post your feedback and comments on the LinkedIn event that I have shared on the chat section. Um, Okay, so I have one more thoughts coming around, Suminas, like in terms of the trust factor. I mean, like any of the industries, I think the trust factor does play an important, and you mentioned that in your five factors as well. Have you actually come across any scenario, or could you actually think of any scenarios wherein and how the companies have probably overcome some of the trust breaches as such?
Yeah, sure. So here we are all dealing with technologies, and fintech, according to me, is a complex thing because there are a lot of units that the outside the organization that you have to deal with. Like say, for example, there are SEBI-related registrars that are there, and there are NACH related payment gateways. There are banks, multiple banks that you will deal with. So what will happen is there's a customer who will be facing only you, and he doesn't know what's happening beyond the screen. So when a transaction is, like, say, any transaction it is placed, and for some reason, say, instead of 20,000 being debited, 40,000 gets debited from your account, right, the customer's account. So the what I feel is the trust is comes in when the company understands what's happening and an immediate response is given to them, right? And if there's a penalty that has to be paid, it's upfront paid, and we learn from that mistake and we evolve. That there are companies I've seen. I mean, if you go to any of the Play stores, they have this, 3-month pay. There are some companies which gives you that, you can pay loans in 3 months, but then all of a sudden, without any notice, right? They cut that and then they say, no, you'll have to pay in just 1.5 months from now. Some of the rules that you break, some of the transactions that you get away from. So these are some of the fact that people are going to talk about it. And once the trust is lost, it's extremely difficult in a fintech space to regain those customers. And anyone new joining will always see those comments and they'll be apprehensive because it's their hard-earned money that they're trying to bet on your company. I personally feel it's once the trust is broken, it's difficult for the company to come back with something different.
Okay, all right. I think I see a question on the chat as such from how do you make customer pain points in fintech? Because when it comes to finance people,
Yeah,
when it comes to finance, people have lack of knowledge.
absolutely. So in the user interviews, when I had
I
connected
can I
about,
can I can probably say that okay, I probably am one such customer as such.
yeah, huh. Yeah, lack of knowledge, absolutely. So when you talk to customers, they don't tell you their pain point upfront. What they tell you is the kind of, I would say, uh, it's the consequences that they face. Like it's not a pain point that they're into. It's more to do with the effect, after effect of it. So you ask those five whys. For example, if somebody has missed an SIP, they'll blame it on something. Then you see that there are some redemptions being placed, or they have not updated their profiles, or they are not increasing their investments. It could be any of those, or some people they're not able to uh, comprehend what is given to them on a thing. So when you talk to them, they'll say, I don't have any goals as such in life. But then when you dig more to it, you'll realize that uh, some of the points are not upfrontly spoken to your thing, but the insights that you derive will be based on the hidden lines that are there. For example, somebody says, I asked them, why haven't you initiated any goals as such for your kids? Because it's extremely important. They'll say, I can manage it myself. I don't need an app to do that for me. So when you go to the next step, then they'll say, you'll understand that they don't know how to create a goal. They don't know how much amount is needed. They don't have a calculator as such which will tell them how much has to be written. So some of the things are not upfrontly told, but when you dig further, maybe two or three whys, or they're apprehensive about numbers. They don't know how or what or when. So maybe to make their life easy, you will say, okay, this particular feature might help them to do that. Maybe an upfront calculator can do that, or a reminder on a monthly basis for them not to miss an SIP. If that is something that can be given. So I hope you have answered your question.
Well, I hope so. Okay, I think I personally have no questions, and I don't see any more questions coming in. It was very nice to have you, Sumanas, talk about this first thing. So yeah, there comes a feedback on your response from as well. So thank you very much, Sumanas, and thank you all for joining. Let me also take this. Please stay tuned for my updates on LinkedIn for more such events in future. And for now, like have a very good night and have a good one if you are wherever you are. And Suminas, thank you very much for volunteering to be the first one. As I said, you're neither crazy nor timid. Just inquisitive is my word for you. Thank
Thanks
you very
for
much.
hosting me today, Sandeep, and thanks for everyone joining for this event. Thank you.
Thank you.